Steve's voice opens the film, transporting us to a reminiscence from his early years. He was grabbed by an enraged miner who yelled at him to go lost. He acknowledges in a voiceover that he still finds it difficult to let go of my dreams. He then goes into a mine after grabbing a pickaxe and a helmet. He discovers two odd relics down within. He enters the overworld, a magical realm where his thoughts may influence reality as soon as he assembles them. He constructs not one, but three houses there. In the third, a wolf named Dennis shows up outside while you're lounging. A crusty old femur is offered to him by Steve. Dennis suddenly becomes his devoted buddy. They continue to construct together, transforming this paradise into Steve's own universe. Steve discovers a curious doorway one day while on one of their trips. Dennis jumps right in, and Steve does the same. Conversely, they discover themselves in an odd, shadowy realm governed by piglins. Malosha, a strong and resentful piglin who once aspired to be a performer, rules this realm. She became evil, nevertheless, after her father and the other piglins dashed her dreams. Malosha plans to utilize the power of the magical orb to spread endless darkness throughout the overworld, because piglins cannot exist in the light. So he takes it from Steve and imprisons him. Fortunately, Dennis saves the day, frees Steve, and reclaims the orb. After that, Steve gives Dennis the orb and tells him to conceal it in the real world. After escaping to the real world, Dennis conceals it beneath Steve's bed while Malosha captures him. In the present, we meet Garrett, a former video gaming champion who now owns a modest store selling vintage memorabilia. However, Garrett is mired in the past, holding on to his former notoriety, and now he faces eviction. In search of a much-needed respite, he goes to a storage sale hosted by his friend Daryl in the hopes of obtaining an extremely rare Atari Cosmos system. However, he only discovers a shining crystal and an odd orb when he unlocks the storage box. Garrett, heartbroken and frustrated, utterly collapses in front of everyone. After losing their mother, Natalie, a young child, and her teenage brother Henry go to the sleepy village of Tubeless, Idaho. Henry is accepted to school, and Natalie is hired to manage the social media for the nearby potato chip business. Since Henry's first day of school is the next day, Natalie prepares his breakfast, a specialty potato pizza. Henry passes by Garrett's store on his way to school, and Garrett asks him if he has any specific items in mind. He's only checking things out, Henry informs him. After that, Garrett gives him a mentoring program for those who wish to succeed in life. After that, Henry heads off to school. After meeting the eccentric vice principal, Marlene, at school, he proudly displays a jetpack model that he created himself before class. However, things swiftly take a wrong turn. The jetpack spins crazily after two bullies sneak in and cut a wire. Natalie works at the potato chip company, and it crashes right into it. The vice principal then tells Henry that he did a very bad job of crashing the jetpack into the American potato chip economy when he is taken to the principal's office. Henry says it was an accident and apologizes. To continue the conversation, the principal, however, instructs him to fetch his guardian. Henry phones Garrett, whom he had met when he visited his store earlier that day, in a panic. Garrett consents to assist. He poses as Henry's uncle when he gets to school. Before leaving, he comments, "Whoever divorced her is a complete idiot." The vice principal begins to flirt with him. After that, he returns Henry to the store. They discover the orb and crystal once more there, along with a note from Steve cautioning them not to utilize the orb out of greed since trouble is on the way. Henry ignores the warning and inserts the orb into the crystal, which then begins to draw Garrett and him in the direction of the mines. Meanwhile, Dawn, the real estate agent who sold them their home and operates a mobile petting zoo, is contacted by Natalie. She informs Dawn that she has contacted Henry numerous times, but he has not returned her calls, implying that he has vanished. Dawn claims that while operating the jetpack, her brother Henry destroyed the potato chip company. They both drive to the mine shaft after she informs her that Henry is inside. Dennis is silently observing as Garrett and Henry enter the mine. Natalie and Dawn discover him inside and inquire about Garrett. He is his mentor, according to Henry. At that moment, the crystal begins to respond to the gateway, and the overworld doorway suddenly opens, drawing them all in. They are all taken into the overworld after that. Malosha and the piglins soon discover the orb has returned in the meantime. Steve has been captured as she goes to meet him. After releasing him, She instructs him to get the orb back. Steve accepts, but Malosha threatens to kill Dennis if he attempts to do anything foolish. The overworld's beauty astounds the four, but as night falls, things take a sinister turn. Suddenly, zombies and eerie skeletons assault them. Henry thinks quickly, figuring out how to construct a fortress so they can find refuge on higher ground in this new world. Steve shows up at that precise moment and aids them in fending off the creatures. Garrett, however, unintentionally breaks the earth crystal in the midst of the mayhem, leaving them stuck and unable to return home. The surviving monsters burn in the sunshine as dawn breaks. According to Steve, they can swap out the earth crystal, but it won't be simple because they'll have to locate the woodland mansion. However, they are forced to embark on their quest. Steve takes the group on a tour of the overworld's treasures. He shows them how simple it is to develop in this new world by introducing them to a quiet community and its amiable residents. However, when the piglins, under the command of General Chungus, arrive and begin attacking the village, things take a terrible turn. Natalie and Dawn get separated from Steve, Garrett, and Henry in the midst of the confusion. While Dawn and Natalie band together to battle off baddies, the males are able to escape the piglins. When Natalie and Dawn go to look for Henry and the others after the fight, they come across Dennis, who can only communicate through signals. Dennis is then followed by Natalie and Dawn to find them. General Chungus, meanwhile, goes back to Malosha. Malosha executes Chungus in retaliation because she is upset with him for not killing Henry and the others. To find the heroes, Malosha sent the Great Hog, her frightening creature. Henry, Steve, and Garrett arrive in a cave in the meantime, where Garrett begs Steve to show him the overworld's wealth. Henry is appalled by Garrett's avarice, but Steve takes him to the diamond mines. The Great Hog finds them and attacks them while they are searching for jewels. The guys employ creepers to bash around till they blow up after making their getaway in a minecart. The Great Hog is blown up in the explosion as the three make their getaway. Back in the actual world, Nitwit, a villager, is struck by Marlene's automobile after unintentionally leaving the overworld. Marlene invites him to dinner even though she doesn't speak English, and she starts to fall for him, much to her surprise. Henry, Garrett, and Steve arrive at the woodland mansion in the meantime. To divert Henry's attention while he looks for the earth crystal, the men enter the house. As Garrett performs like a professional dancer, Steve sings a song. Henry meets an Enderman, a spooky teleporting entity, while searching for the earth crystal. By forcing him to witness Steve, Garrett, and Natalie speaking terrible things to him, the Enderman attempts to undermine him. Steve and Garrett are busy fending off a Frankenstein-like creature on a chicken while Henry struggles. The Ender Pearl, which enables the user to teleport wherever they throw it, is awarded to Henry after he ultimately defeats the Enderman with his sword. Malosha and her army ambush the heroes as they prepare to depart. The piglins assault after she gets the orb back. Garrett fights on, determined to keep the piglins at bay, as Steve and Henry escape on a hot air balloon. In a startling twist, the bridge is blown up, and Garrett appears to be killed as the piglins' TNT supply explodes. Henry and Steve collapse to the ground after being blasted away. They are glad to discover that Dawn, Natalie, and Dennis saved them when they awaken. Despite their grief for Garrett's sacrifice, the group comes together to fight Malosha. Malosha, in the meantime, unleashes monsters to attack mercilessly while using the orb to throw a spooky darkness over the overworld. In a titanic conflict with Malosha and the piglins, the heroes muster an army of iron golems. Determined to climb Malosha's tower and retrieve the orb, Henry presses on. However, Malosha shoots at the tower as he is about to reach it, sending him flying. In a breathtaking turn of events, Garrett, who is still alive, rescues him by swooping down in his hot air balloon. The heroes work together to demolish the tower and get the orb. The dark entities start to disintegrate and fade away as they do so. Malosha makes a final attempt to harm Steve but eventually fails. Once again, the door to the actual world opens. Steve is hesitant because he believes that the actual world has nothing left for him as the heroes get ready to bid goodbye. Perhaps he has something to offer the real world after all, Natalie says. Steve makes the decision to follow them after that. Steve considers how things have changed since their experience in the concluding narrative. With Steve's assistance, Garrett was able to salvage his store and develop a brand new arcade game that has gained popularity among the local youth. Dawn's petting zoo business is boosted by Dennis and other overworld creatures. Natalie began teaching children self-defense techniques she had acquired in the overworld. Since fixing his jetpack, Henry has gained popularity at school. At Garrett's store, the heroes all come together to celebrate and look forward to what lies ahead. Everyone in the room applauds when Marlene joyfully declares her engagement to Nitwit during the mid-credit scene. They are rejoicing when Marlene's ex-husband enters the room, looking perplexed. Then, poised to speak, Nitwit says, their language barriers no longer matter because of his love for Marlene. Marlene gives a proud smile.